Hi guys. Yeah. So Journey to 30. Oh crap! I always do that. I never mute. I never mute the stream. I'm so.
We haven't had one episode that hasn't started as a complete train wreck.
Whoa! That's a little heavy-handed, I think.
I told you already. I keeps it real. All right. Real talk here on Journey to 30.
Exactly.
Real talk.
How you doing today?
I'm doing pretty. You know what? I'm actually not doing great. I was doing okay, and then I found out that the Claude couldn't join us today.
Oh yeah, I thought you were gonna talk about Robin Williams, but yeah, I was pretty bummed about that.
Well, yeah, that's a real bummer too.
Oh man, I've been watching so many Robin Williams films over the past couple of days.
He's great.
He's amazing. I miss him already.
He's great.
You know, Good Will Hunting is actually one of my favorite movies of all time.
That is an awesome movie. I love that movie.
That is.
And Hook.
I watched Hook too. Yeah, definitely watched that as well. And Flubber.
Dead Poet Society.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Flubber.
Oh, that one's amazing. You should watch it. Anyway, this is a League of Legends podcast, not.
Yes, it is.
Our homage paid to. Paid to Robin Williams. But yeah, we were supposed to have DeClaude on. Unfortunately, the timing ended up too close to around when his wife was supposed to give birth. So that, unfortunately, did not turn out. So we're going to...
But fortunate for him, and we hope the best and everything goes smoothly. Yeah. And welcome little Syndra into the world.
Yeah, a little mini DeClaude. But you have two mid-mains yelling at you, so it should be okay.
Yes.
Yeah, since we both main mid. Alright, so yeah, this is Journey 30. Of course, your usual hosts today with you. Both of us are here. I don't think it'll ever change.
It better not. I don't know what I'm going to do with myself.
Oh, it'd be so sad.
This is my entire purpose for being now, and if it goes away, I'm going to move out into the woods and become a hobo and build bombs or something. I don't know.
No more League of Legends? That'd be so sad.
No, that's it. By the way, NSA, if you're listening, I was just joking with the bombs, and also I'm Canadian, so stay away from me.
They can't spy on you, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, jerks.
Alright, so let's go ahead and talk about what we talked about last week, which was top lane. Of course, you're always welcome to go ahead and watch that on the YouTube channel. It's just
please do.
T-Force Podcast. Just straight up T-Force Podcast. That's it.
Yep.
And specifically, we talked about why top's important. What the feel of top lane is. We talked about the island of top lane and some champions that are possibly good for them. We recommended. Kennen, we talked a lot about Kennen. We talked about Teemo, Malphite, Renekton, Garen, all of those champions. Easy to play up there. And yeah.
Also, a big thanks again to Adam for coming on and helping us out with that.
Yeah, Pone, really appreciate him spending some of his busy life. I know he's really busy right now, and he's definitely appreciative of that. But this week's champ rotation. Is actually kind of really nice for mid laners, not going to lie. We have Akali, we have Annie, Darius, Graves, Leona, Nautilus, Nunu, Quinn, Taric, and Vladimir. So not that great for mid laners. But you got Annie and you got Akali, which are two pretty solid mid laners. I love Annie. All of you guys know that I love Annie, so...
And Leona.
Yeah, that's two of my favorites right there. Wow. I didn't even realize, Annie and Leona, both fantastic champions. But since we are talking about the mid lane today, we're going to, throw and push you to play Annie, because Annie's awesome. She's amazing.
Indeed.
She's so fun.
And she has a bear.
Yeah, I was about to say, next year, Fan of May, in San Jose. I'm going as Tibbers. I'm super excited.
Better be pictures, or I'm going to be real mad.
Oh, there will be pictures, sir. There will be pictures.
There better be. There just better be.
Anyway, so let's go ahead and talk about the mid lane. How about you give a quick introduction rundown on what the mid lane is?
Well, mid lane is the lane that is in the mid.
What?
And that's about it. So let's move on. No, it's that is true. It is the middle. It's a solo lane that is, according to the meta, really, it's normally a solo lane.
It's the best lane.
It is the best lane. It's the most fun. It is. If you don't play mid, you're a sucker. And no, yeah, it's in the middle of the map, so you are basically right in the middle of everything. You've got the river on both sides. It's the shortest lane of all the lanes, which adds an element of safety. But countering that, it also has it has an entrance on either side of you, so it is also can be pretty dangerous. But quite often, the champions that are played in there is AP champions or assassins, which we'll get into more later. And yeah, it's in the middle. Did I mention that?
Yeah.
That it's in the middle of the map? Okay.
Yeah. So the mid lane is typically reserved for burst champions. We're going to say AP carrier assassin because most often those are people that are bursty. So when you're looking to, fill a role in the mid lane, you're usually looking for someone that can lay down a lot of a lot of quick, heavy damage. And almost to the point where you outright kill somebody. Whoever you focus is going to die. So that's basically what a mid laner
you don't have
is.
to pick. You don't have to pick like a tanky champion to go mid.
Well, I mean, and that being said, though, mid lane is definitely the most versatile of the lanes. Like, you can play a lot of different people in the mid lane. Some people that you wouldn't even consider to be, strong mid laners. Most often, they're bursty champions, or they have some sort of way of, dealing with somebody and poking them out, or something like that. But I mean, oftentimes I've seen Riven mid, or Malphite mid, and people like that you wouldn't normally see be mid
This
because
is true.
it's such a versatile lane. But we're just, like when I was saying the meta is usually a bursty champion, that's usually the case. But that's not to say that mid can't have other champions, and that's why I love mid. Is you can play a lot of people in the mid lane if you know how to play it.
Yeah.
So, let's, okay, I'm going to do something a little bit different because both of us really enjoy the mid lane, and I want to start with this. Why do you love the mid lane?
Why do I love the mid lane? Because Ziggs lives there, and he's the best champion in the game, as I've mentioned before. So, I like the mid lane. I gravitated, there we go, towards it originally because it is a solo lane. And I like the fact that it is a shorter lane. It is dangerous because you've got those two bushes to either side. But if you do have wards in there, you are relatively safe in the mid. It's not a long trip back to your tower. And I also like it because because you're in the middle of everything, you can move in either direction pretty quickly. Like aside from a top laner with teleport, you've probably got the most mobility. And I'm not talking about like individual champion mobility, just talking about you can get where you need to go pretty quickly, whether that's bottom to help or top to help. So you can have a lot of fun playing in the mid. That's why I like it.
Yeah, I agree. Like that whole concept of being in the middle of everything, I absolutely love. I've always been drawn to the idea of being able to help whoever I can at any given moment. And when I first started playing this game, coming out of like a healer's perspective, I always thought that I would play a really good support. But then I quickly realized that I play a really good mid lane because I like to help everybody. A support can generally help a lot of people, but they can't help the top lane. They're on the other side of the map. They can't help a jungle invade. They're on the other side of the map. So when you talk about somebody that's able to help everybody, you should almost always think of the jungle first and foremost because they can help any lane, and the mid laner.
Yeah.
And which is why I was drawn to it, because as a mid laner, I tend to roam a lot. I frequently roam. I roam at level 5, I roam at level 6, roam at level 8. Like, I roam all the time. And I have specific times where I know I'm going to roam to help other lanes. And we're going to talk about the importance specifically for roaming as a mid laner later on in this show. But, yeah, that's why I really love the mid lane, is you can be a valuable asset to your entire team everywhere, and that's really cool. And then you also have the independence of a solo lane.
Yep, for sure. Also, something I didn't mention is AP champions, AP range champions are some of my favorite champions to play, and that's primarily where they live. So yeah, that's another reason for it.
Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about the primary goals for the mid lane. So, okay, so you start out, you picked Annie. You kind of have a general feel. You looked on MOBA Fire and you looked at what you need to max. You looked at what you need to build. You're starting out with your Doran's Ring and you're heading to lane. What are the first few things that you're thinking about as soon as you get into the lane?
Farm for me. That's right away. You want to be building towards getting some money for your first item. So yeah, my initial focus is just CSing and getting those trades in when I can.
Yeah, I agree. Always, if your jungler calls for a leash, always give them a leash. If you can,
right.
If they don't want, like, if they don't mind you not leashing, I always generally try to rush level 2 as quickly as I can. Because I don't want to get caught off guard by, like, a level 2 jungle gank or an all-in by the enemy mid laner. Or if I feel aggressive enough, maybe I will all-in at level 2. So that's definitely a possibility. But, if your jungler calls for a leash, always give the leash. If he doesn't, ask if he needs a leash. If he says no, then go to your lane. You don't need the leash. As of right now...
The thing is...
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going
to say, the thing is...
Go.
Okay, what I was going... Oh, I forgot. No, I'm just kidding. What I was going to say is, too, like, it's become more popular recently, getting to that... Not that it's ever was a bad thing, but it's become more popular getting to that level 2 faster, and it's become a little more of a thing, not leashing. But the thing is, when you're starting early, junglers are going to be wanting that leash more often than not. So it's a good idea to make sure you're there to help them if they need it.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't just assume.
Yeah.
I actually forgot my point. I don't even remember, but that's okay. So yeah,
that was my plan.
So you leash, you get to lane and you start to farm. And as Ziggs and Annie, you have the potential for really early, easy trades because neither of them have a serious mana issue. You look at other champions like Syndra comes to mind, or LeBlanc, who, they require heavy mana costs when they're going in for trades, but not Ziggs or not Annie. Like, they can trade really effectively, they can poke down really easily because they have the range, they have the ability to, do that damage from a distance and not sacrifice a whole lot of mana. They also have escapes and tools to get out of ganks, so, we're definitely promoting both of those champions as solid candidates for the mid lane if you're attempting to try it out. I love Annie, and I love Ziggs just as much. And if Declad were here, he would, talk Ziggs up severely as well, because he loves Ziggs as well. So both of those champions are good.
Good taste.
Yeah. So your primary focus between the levels of 1 to 6 should be CSing and trying to get down some poke with, a Ziggs bomb or an Annie pyroblast. You're trying to... And auto attacks from both champions. Ziggs has a heightened auto attack, with his passive.
Yep, short fuse.
And Annie has an incredible range. She is...
Her range is ridiculous.
Just underneath Caitlyn for the longest range at level 1. Tristana ends up taking the cake around level 11, I think. And as does Kog'Maw gets increased range as well. But at level 1, Annie and Caitlyn have the longest range. And Annie, as an AP carry, being able to poke with your auto attacks is a pretty big deal. So if you're beginning to learn Annie and you're watching this and you're trying out her for the first time, auto attack for days because it's so easy to poke with it. And then at level 6 is usually when you should try and look to get a kill. If you get level 6 first, try and go for it before they get level 6. If you hit it at about the same time, it's generally better for you to just kind of gauge and see if you think that they're, you know, good enough to fight you back. If you think that you can win, go for it. Like, mid lane is all about risks, risk reward, and taking advantage of opportunities. You know, more so than a lot of other lanes. You know, bot lane, a lot of opportunities are made because the support or the jungle come in and do something. Top lane, there's a lot of opportunities to be had there, but a lot of it is just, you know, back and forth and who wins out, you know, knowing champions. While mid lane is more about capitalizing on things.
Yeah, and before, it's a good idea before you get into the game to kind of think about how you want to play it. If you're planning on going aggressive early to try and get that kill, it's a pretty good idea to take Ignite. If you're planning on playing a little more defensive, if you want to play safe, taking Barrier or Heal is probably a better plan.
Yeah, I'm a big advocate of both Barrier and Ignite. Barrier specifically for the mid lane, because, you know, we talked about the burst of, you know, lanes, and when you're going in for that level 6 kill, and you have that Barrier, that damage is definitely going to be neglected by that Barrier. So that's a huge advantage that you'll have, and it's more so than Ignite. So that's another key thing. You know, you may think, oh, I'll survive this, and they'll pop their Ignite, but you need to know that, you know, you're going to take less damage than they are because of that Barrier, and that can actually be a very strong factor. I love Barrier in the mid lane because I play incredibly aggressive. So. And on that note, there's a couple different ways to play the lane. Do you want to talk about, you know, the threat of the mid lane before we jump into being aggressive and being defensive? Like the jungle opportunity, or
do we want to hit the build choice first, or never mind, I'm skipping ahead here. No, hold on, what?
Okay, we'll talk about build.
I've just gotten so confused.
No, it's okay. So there was one thing.
Kids, listen, just real quick. Kids, if you see glue, you don't have to sniff the glue. You can leave the glue alone, go about your business, and you're going to have a better day. Okay? Quick PSA. All it does, it's fun. All it does is kill brain cells. You get confused easily. You forget where you live. You lose your wallet frequently. Just don't do it.
Yeah.
Don't do it. Okay, carry on. Sorry.
Okay, so there's 2 items in particular that I always look to buy as a mid laner, depending on my matchup. Chalice of Harmony, which builds into Athene's, and Seeker's Armguard, which builds into Zhonya's. Those 2 items are pretty much mandatory on any and every single AP carry that you will ever play. And I mean any and every single AP carry that you will ever play. So if they're magic dealing and you're in the mid lane, you're building a Chalice or you're building a Seeker's Armguard. Whichever one you decide to take first is completely up to you. Just know that, you know, Chalice has magic resist and Seeker's Armguard has armor. So if you're playing an assassin that deals AD damage, you know, you're going to probably build Seeker's Armguard. If you're playing against another mage in the mid lane, you're probably going to be building Chalice.
Yeah, they just nerfed Athene's recently. Or was it just Chalice?
It's still really strong.
Yeah, that's where I was going. It's still, don't let that dissuade you. Like, the magic regen you get from that alone makes that worth it. And then once you add the cooldown and the bit of MR you still get, it's such a good item.
Yeah, both of those items are really good. And, I mean, that was all I really wanted to put in for build choice was just those 2 items. I feel like they're completely mandatory on pretty much every single AP carry. If you're playing an assassin, you're probably going to be looking to build a Brutalizer. Pretty much every single assassin I can think of mid lane is probably going to be building a Brutalizer. And that gives you armor penetration, so it's really good to counter the Seeker's Armguard. And then you're going to be building a Vamp Scepter. Those are those 2 key early items. Someone types in Roa in the Twitch chat. Unfortunately not. A lot of champions aren't, like a lot of assassin champions, like Fizz or LeBlanc or Akali, which we just talked about, Lysandra. Like a lot of those people don't need Rod of the Ages. maybe you can see the benefit with like Ziggs or Annie, which benefit severely from being in fights and having close up fights. But most of the time, you're just looking for regen
I could
and
see it
magic resist.
maybe for Anivia if you're playing her mid lane, just because she has such mana issues that that big mana pool late game would help. Perhaps.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Annie definitely is a viable candidate for Route of the Ages in the mid lane, but that's really up to the player. Like, I usually opt for something else, and I play Annie quite frequently. I have a Smurf named Tibbers that only plays Annie, so yeah. But anyway, enough talk on that. So let's go ahead and talk about the threat of the mid lane and the fact that it's such a short lane and why junglers prefer to gank that lane.
Ah, okay. You mean the threat to the mid lane,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Okay, that's where I was confused. Yeah, it is a short lane, but you've got bushes on either side and lots of room for a jungler to hide. And it's not even the bushes. There's basically, not counting the lane, there's like 6 openings to that lane that a jungler can come in from. You can get, if you're not paying attention, if you don't have your wards out and you're just tunnel visioned onto that turret or pushing as hard as you can get ganked real easily. And if you don't have an escape, there's a good chance you're going to die.
Yeah, definitely. It's tough. So, real quick pro tip for when you're looking to drop your totem, because you're going to be starting your totem. Depending on what side you are, if you guys playing colorblind, it's blue and red. If you guys don't play in colorblind, it's blue and purple. But say you're blue side, that means that you're on the bottom, quadrant of the map. You wanna ward the side where you think the jungler will be in more often. So I instantly think of Wraiths, because Wraiths is the closest camp to the mid lane. When someone is usually deciding to go gank the lane, they are usually going to take Wraiths and then head towards the lane, or they're going to take their second buff and head towards the lane. If you're starting blue side and you're looking into the red side, usually red starts at their blue, they transition to Wraiths, they grab their red, and they usually opt to either gank top or mid. And at that point is usually around 3 minutes. So dropping your ward at about 3:05 is a really good time to drop that totem, because it gives you information on whether or not the jungler is going to gank. The same thing can be said for the red side, just opposite. They usually start their red, but then they go to blue, then they go to race, and then they go to blue. They're usually not going to gank mid. They'll probably gank top, but that's not to say that they won't. And finding out what side they go ahead.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, this is another case where map awareness and paying attention to your mini map is so important. If you see them pop out in top, or you see them pop out in bottom, or if you manage to get a deep ward in and you see where they are on which side of the map, then that's a pretty obvious tell as to what side they're on and where you want to put your ward. So that can be a hard thing to do when you're learning, looking down at that mini map, but you want to be trying to glance down at that as much as you safely can.
And this is it's kind of advanced stuff, like thinking about where the jungler is going to be, especially if you don't even have a jungler that you're playing against, but it's just something that you need to keep in mind. Like, learning it early is definitely better than learning it too late. So we're talking about it now, and it may just go right over your head, and you may need to rewatch this or re-listen to it later, but definitely do. Take note of this. Warding your lane as a mid laner is mandatory, because you are the biggest, you're the easiest catch. You're like the tuna that you want to grab because it's so juicy and easy. Most mid laners only have a single escape, and if that escape gets blown, you're usually screwed. And the jungler can capitalize on that significantly, like we talked about. Mid lanes capitalizing on opportunities. So you definitely have to be wary of junglers in the mid lane, because they are going to be looking at your lane almost all the time. No side stone.
No, exactly. And like we always are hammering, wards are so important. And I really unless I have, just enough money to get that next item, to finish my Athenes or whatever, I like buying a ward when I go back. And then between that and my totem, I've got both sides covered. And, more experienced players might say, well, you may only need one, or if you kind of know where the jungler is, you only need to cover one side, whatever. I like being safe. I like knowing that I can push up a little bit and I'm not going to get jumped on. Getting those two bushes warded isn't a guarantee that you can't get jumped. They can still come in from the lane close to your jungle, or they can come in from the lane in their jungle. But you are giving yourself so much more peace of mind, I guess, and you can feel so much more safe. You feel much safer if you have both of those bushes covered.
Yeah. You want to talk about pink wards in the mid lane?
Pink wards. Pink wards are a good idea because, like, not only are you wanting to watch out for the enemy jungler, but you also want to be giving your jungler a hand. Because if your opponent is smart, they're going to be warding as well. And if they ward the top lane or the top bush, and your jungler comes down and waits in that bush to try and get a gank, he's wasting his time because they know where he is and they might counter gank. If you've got a pink ward, you're going to be able to clear those wards out. And while we're on the subject, if you do see your opponent dropping the ward, always ping it and tell your jungler there's a ward there. That way they don't waste their time going into that bush.
Yeah. I also really like pink warding the solo bushes in rivers. I've been playing a lot of ranked 5s recently, and I play the mid lane from my ranked 5 team, so shot call. And I always call, my jungler is like down to a T now. Our first backs, we always buy pink wards, and he always wards the Baron River Bush, and I always ward the Dragon River Bush, and that covers mid lane almost completely. Like that right there, that one ward. And odds are, if they do end up seeing it, it's because they're warding it too. And that just gives you, like, that right there is a mental note. Like, oh, okay, I know that they're warding that area. I should probably just stick to solo, like, sight wards there so I don't waste gold, and put my pink in another place because that one's going to get killed. So just mental note to myself. And then you can put your pink in another area. But the point is that solo little shrub in the river, that is a perfect place for a pink ward because it covers the entire entrance to your lane from the river.
Yeah, and as we mentioned before, a lot of people miss that. They may run straight through that bush without even noticing the pink ward, so it could be there for a huge chunk of the game.
Yeah, and then another really good tactic to get used to is bush hugging aside and farming using that and using your totem to do it. It's a really common way to farm if you feel threatened by a specific side. Is you ward one bush in the on the river in the mid lane, and then you kind of stay near that bush because you know it's safe because you have the ward there, and you keep away from the other bush completely because they can't come to gank you. And if you see someone coming towards you on your side, you just run away, nice and easy.
Yep.
All right, so that's warding 101 for the mid lane. Roaming is going to be the biggest topic, so we should probably touch on that.
Sounds good.
All right, roaming. Roaming is absolutely mandatory for the mid lane. Hands down, one of the most effective things you as a mid laner can do, aside from taking the turret, which can be done as Ziggs specifically very easily.
Yes.
He can take down turrets faster than anybody else can, like almost as quick as an AD carry. But roaming is incredibly important for mid laners because they have the ability to completely burst someone down, and if they don't know you're coming, oh my goodness, that is such an easy kill.
Yeah, people, especially early on, they'll be expecting a jungler to come in, or they should, but they may forget about the mid laner and think, oh, he's just going to stay in his lane. And especially if your opponent doesn't call an MIA, you can be a real nasty surprise.
Yeah. I almost feel more threatened, like if I'm playing in the bot lane or even in the top lane, I almost feel more threatened by a mid lane ganking me than I do a jungler. Because I know that a mid lane can be incredibly scary. Like, junglers usually have some sort of sustain, and they usually have, like, defensive properties, like running defensive runes or masteries or something like that, so they're not going to be incredibly aggressive. Like, they'll be aggressive, but they're not going to be able to do as much damage as a mid laner can. and
Yeah.
that's intense. So, being a mid laner, taking advantage of the opportunity you have of ganking and roaming is very significant. And I said earlier that I start to roam at level 5.
Yeah.
This
But keep
is
in mind also, you want to develop a sense of when is a good time to
yeah,
roam. If you're behind, if you're getting pushed to your turret, don't roam. You want to just focus on playing defensive and farm under your turret. Because if you roam and they continually push those waves and you're losing that CS, you're getting damage on your turret. So if you're not a if, yeah you oh god.
if you're not comfortable roaming and learning how to defend your turret, then do it less.
There it is. That's what I was stumbling over.
Yeah, exactly. And also don't roam if you know that they're gonna take your turret. Like, obviously that should be a given, but I mean a lot of
Absolutely.
people don't
A
realize it.
potential kill, yeah, a potential kill is not worth losing your turret.
Yeah. So this is a complex strategy, but it's definitely integral with the lane because, like we said it before, being in the mid lane, you have the ability to be anywhere on the map within a few short seconds, and that is such a responsibility for the mid laner.
Yeah.
So it's something that like a lot of you guys need to acknowledge early on that it's something that you need to do. Roaming is completely necessary. So learning how to do it effectively is only going to come from experience. You'll lose turrets because you roamed. You may get turrets because you roamed. It's just going back and forth both ways. So, I
Yeah,
mean,
and like you said, it's not an easy thing to learn. You've got to know where your wave is. Is it pushed up? You've got to have the map awareness to know where to roam. Like if bot lane your carries have pushed up to the opponent's turret, you probably don't want to go down there. Same with the top. You got to be aware of where the junglers are. There's so much you have to know, but like you said, you can be such a threat with those roams that it's worth it to try and get that experience and to try and help out your other lanes.
yeah. So, what habits do you usually partake in when you think you're about to go roam?
Well, I personally like having the minions pushed right up to my opponent's turret. Then you've got the time where you're not going to lose a ton of CS. You're not going to get a bunch of damage on your turret. And with Ziggs, it's so easy to push those waves out. Or if you just get a kill, is another good time.
Yep.
As long as you're not, and remember this, as long as you're not hurting. If you're down to quarter health or you're super low on mana, there's no reason for you to roam because you're not going to help anything and you're probably going to die. So it's basically when you're in a really advantageous position and you can leave your lane without having anyone there to babysit it to try and help somewhere else.
Yeah. I usually look at there's usually 4 opportunities in which a mid laner can roam and safely. A few you mentioned. One, you're pushing the wave into their turret. Whether or not the enemy mid laner is there, it's still going to take them a good solid 30 seconds to a minute to push it back into your turret. So that's a solid time to roam. 2, you just killed them, so you have the opportunity to leave your lane without it being threatened. 3, the lane may be even, but you know that the enemy lacks the wave clear and the ability to push the turret. If that's the case, you know that the enemy jungler has left the battlefield to go back to base, or they are in the top lane. Depending on where you're ganking. If you're ganking top, then if the jungler is in bot, well, that's actually a different story. I almost never gank top. I always gank bot.
Yeah. Yeah, like we were saying last week, that's kind of an island. That doesn't mean never roam there, but you probably want to focus a little more helping at bottom.
Yeah, and then the 4th time is when you're actually coming back from base. Your opponent may call you Mia, and they may say, oh, I poked him down, he's actually just going back to base. They may think that you're going back to their lane, but that's a perfect opportunity for you to be somewhere else on the map.
Yes, sneaky.
Yeah, so those 4 opportunities are usually the best times to roam. I love roaming as soon as I kill like my mid laner, or if I force them to back, that follows the same suit. as the same opportunity. If you force them to go back to their base, it's just as good as killing them because they are no longer in the picture. So that allows you to go down to the bot lane to catch a gank. And the best ways to catch a gank are, if you are aware of where the jungler is, go through the enemy jungle. If you're on red side, go through the enemy jungle and catch them at try, that bush right next to below dragon. If you're on blue side and you're ganking bot, go through your jungle and go through try. If you're red side and you don't know where the jungler is, just go through river and hope that your support can get some sort of CC. And yeah, capitalize on the fact that you're now 3v2 and you're probably going to get a kill if it's not warded.
Yep.
Obviously, don't gank if it's warded. If it's warded, tell them to counter the ward so that you can roam.
Yeah. Also, it depends on your champion. If you've got a real mobile champ like Katarina, you can roam more. If you're playing Vel'Koz, who is so friggin' slow, you have to be a little more picky about when you decide to go somewhere.
Yeah, yeah. And as of right now, I'm probably not going to promote any champion that seriously lacks mobility. I mean, we talked about Annie, and she isn't the most mobile champion, but she has the range to be able to do whatever she wants to people, so that's really nice.
Having an escape or having some range is going to keep you a little safer. And again, while you're learning, safety is a great thing to have.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's talk about the mid laners mid game. This is usually... So the phase transition for lanes, as we have always talked about before, is when the first tower in bot lane usually goes down. That is usually when it happens. Sometimes a mid tower will go down first. And if that's the case, you should hope that it's not your turret, because if it's your turret, then you're probably behind. At which point, you should be following your jungler around and looking for opportunities to get kills. Or sitting on your second turret and just farming as best as you can, but probably the first one.
Yeah, and that mid turret is so important. You don't want to let your turret go down. The mid, especially the mid turret, it just opens up so much of the jungle for the enemy.
Yeah, if you're afraid of losing your turret to the point where it's stopping you from roaming, then just don't roam.
Yep.
Absolutely don't, because losing that turret, like he said, opens up everything. But if you can take their turret, it's the same effect. You've opened up everything. It's like a can of gummy worms. You open it up and now you get to eat them.
Yep, exactly. Gummy worms are delicious.
It's like the opposite of a can of like gross worms, you know?
If you feel like you've got to eat worms, you probably should eat the gummy worms. Unless you're a fish, if you're a fish, then you should probably go for the normal worms. Because I'm not a scientist, but I don't think fish should eat gummy worms. That's just my opinion, okay?
Alright, so let's talk about what a mid laner does in the mid game. I usually follow around my jungler and I look for opportunities to capitalize on mistakes made by the enemy, especially if I'm not ahead. If I'm ahead, if I'm winning my lane and I have kills in gold, I will abuse that and push mid crazy hard and force them to come to me and have my jungler, back me up. But if I'm not ahead, if I'm even or I'm behind, I follow my jungler around and we look for opportunities to take dragon, to take turrets, to catch people out of position. Those are usually the mid laner and the jungle have a special connection with each other. They're like you could call them brothers or sisters, you could call them lovers, you could call them
Ooh.
mommy and daddy, you can call them whatever you want, but there's some sort of weird connection, those two. And learning how to synergize with a jungler it's something that can increase your game by like a lot, by tenfold. I'm just gonna give a random number, tenfold.
That's a good number. I like it.
Yeah. So learn how to roam with your jungler. Learn how to gank with him. Learn how to take dragon with him. Learn how to... Oh, here's one. Taking dragon as a mid laner. You are not going to do any damage to the dragon, so don't waste your abilities on him. Your job in a dragon take... I see people do this all... I see people do this wrong all the time, and which is why I'm pointing out and being rather stern about it. Your job as a mid laner is to peel for the dragon. That is your single job. If anyone tries to get close to that dragon, you're blowing their bitch ass up. You're screwing them over because they got too close to your dragon. That's your dragon.
Especially if you're someone like Ziggs, who has a minefield that lasts literally 5 minutes. You throw that minefield in the lane coming out from the jungle, and they can't go through it.
Yeah.
And you're zoning them off completely and helping keep your team safe.
Yeah. Like, obviously, we're not telling you, oh, yeah, go wander into the enemy jungle and try and get killed. Like, no. I'm saying don't let that enemy jungler make him have to burn something to get that. Like, unless he's Lee Sin and can jump over the wall and steal it, you make that jungler flash to try and steal that dragon. You don't let him come around through the river and try and sneak in and take it. Nuh-uh. You make it as difficult for the enemy team to get there as possible. Do not waste your abilities on dragon. That is your AD carries and your jungle's job.
Yep.
Completely. Same thing with Baron. If you guys are Baron fighting, it's also your job to make sure that you're keeping the jungler and anybody else you can off of Baron and your team. Because believe it or not, like we said before, you have the ability to completely blow someone up, and you should take advantage of that, especially when they're trying to go for something other than you. That is like the perfect opportunity to screw someone over. So, sorry, I got a little stern on that one, but that one's a big one. Like, a lot of people don't realize that.
Take it easy, Dad.
Sorry. And yes, lovers, because I have a special connection with my junglers. I love them.
You know what? If you want, I can give you some time. If you want some privacy.
That's okay.
Someone get Wrecker on here, because this is getting hot.
Oh, great. So, team fighting as a mid laner, who do you focus and why?
Well, it depends on the champion. If you are playing that assassin, and you want to jump on their carry, get that juicy ADC sitting in the back. If you're Fizz, you can, especially if you're a real mobile champ like Fizz or like LeBlanc, you can get in there and blow them up before they can react to it. If you are playing range champion like Ziggs, you're real squishy, so you don't want to get in the middle of that fight, but you want to use your range to try and put as much hurt on the carries as you can.
Yeah. Yeah, just like he said. Next week we're going to be talking about AD carry, and a lot of people say that positioning for an AD carry is like quintessential to being good. And while I agree, looking back on positioning, I think that the mid laner has the toughest job for positioning. He doesn't have, like, when it comes to the late game and where team fights are starting to get, tricky, I did say that you have the opportunity to blow someone up pretty much single-handedly. But if they're building magic resist and, health, you're not going to be able to do that to the tank or the singed, because that's what someone brought up in the Twitch chat. That's not going to be your opportunity to use your skills on. You're going to be looking for somebody else. And so this just kind of goes down to how the team fight, happens. But whoever I'm playing, I generally look to try and do the most collateral damage as possible. Like, you're going to say that you have all the damage, and you're going to look at it. The mid laner, as a role, is the most effective between the mid to early late game, and from there on, everyone's single goal should be to protect the AD carry. And we'll talk about why when we get about the AD carry. But leading up to that point, your job should be, shutting down the enemy support from getting to your AD carry, or stopping their AD carry from, getting close to your AD carry, stopping their AP carry from getting close to your AD carry. Like, your job in the late game and in a lot of team fights will be to protect your AD carry. For me, at least, that's what I try and focus on. And it does differ depending on who you're playing and how the team fight's going.
Yeah, if you're playing a champion with some heavy AOE abilities, you want to be using those abilities as efficiently as possible, like maxing that damage, like that Orianna Shockwave.
I've been playing a
the
lot.
Ziggs ult.
Oh, you just reminded me. Ranked
Ori's
fives.
awesome. I love her.
I just picked up Oriana. Was doing ranked fives. I got a pentakill with her, and I got my team placed into gold.
She's awesome. She's so much fun. Those shockwaves are ridiculous. If you can, there's few things in the game that feel as good as landing like a 4 or 5 person shockwave. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, but don't play Oriana, guys. For one thing.
No, she's tough. If you're learning to play mid, she is real difficult to pick up.
Yeah.
But again, you want to maximize your abilities. Like, don't throw your Ziggs ult on the tank. You want to. That's got good range. You want to dump it on the people you want to put that damage on, the carries or the back lane. And, and so much of it depends, again, on your champion. If you're squishy, you just don't get into the middle of the team fight. Stay back, throw your damage down on the opportune targets, ideally on the ones you want to kill the fastest. And just, you want to be as big a benefit to that team fight as you can without dying.
Yes, she is. I was about to see that, DJ. She is the only mid laner with maxed out difficulty. Don't play Oriana. You will get so disappointed. Oriana requires so much finesse and awareness of everything that's going on. Like, my penta with Oriana, like, my team gave it to me, but, like, the reason I got it was because I have been practicing with her for so long. And I've been playing this game for way too many years, so...
You are essentially dividing your attention between 2 characters. It's like you've got 2 people to watch instead of 1.
Yeah, and Draven is up there as well, except he's got, like, 6 things he has to work with. But anyway, don't play Draven as an AD carry, and don't play Oriana as a mid laner. Just don't play them until you are incredibly comfortable with the game, because they will get you so frustrated.
Yep.
But yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and throw this out here right now. There's 2 roles in particular that are very, 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 very dependent on what's going on in the game. I feel like that's jungle and the mid lane. If you have any questions, feel free to add either of us in game, and we will answer any and all questions, because things start to get really complicated when we talk about, team fights and all that different stuff, and it's not something that we can just cover in an episode of Journey to 30. Like, it's just not. So if you have any questions about it, please feel free to email or ask, but I feel like I've covered most of that.
Sure.
We have covered most of that.
Yeah, that's right, we. I'm here too.
You are here. You are here. You have what else? What else do you have to say?
Ziggs. Ziggs. You know what I love about Ziggs? I'm just going to talk about Ziggs for a second here.
That's good. Go ahead. Talk about Ziggs.
Let's talk about champions here. The thing I like about Ziggs, he's got that AoE damage. He's got stupid range. He's got an escape. And he's all skill shots. And while we've said when you're learning, avoid skill shots because they can take some getting used to, and that's still kind of true, they're not real difficult skill shots because they're AoE. Like with the Satchel Charge, that one's a little more difficult if you're using it as an escape because you can screw that up, or you can pop your opponent in the wrong direction. But he's a really good champion to learn those skill shots, and he's awesome. And yeah, Ziggs is great. He's great.
I want to take back us saying don't play champs with skill shots now, because this is episode 10, and I feel like if our listeners have been listening to every single episode we've been providing, and they've been following our tips and tricks, then I feel like now you should be taking champions with skill shots.
Yeah,
now's the time to learn.
It's funny you say that, because on a recent T-Force episode, Dom was talking about a guy he knew who was really bad at skill shots, and he changed to playing Ryze, I believe, because Ryze doesn't have any, and he got a lot better. And Pone made the point that there are so many champions in this game who have skill shots. You should, sooner than later, learn how to land skill shots. That doesn't mean you have to land every single one. No one's expecting you to pick up Thresh and get every single hook. But the sooner you can use those skill shots effectively, you're going to be a better player.
Mm-hmm. So learn skill shots and learn like broad skill shots. Like it's really easy to be like, oh yeah, just go ahead and play Caitlyn and learn how to poke with your Q. It's really easy for us to say that, but that is actually a really good point because that covers a lot of things. That covers Ezreal's Q. That covers Lyssandra's Q. That covers a whole bunch of skill shots that are just, dependent because they're just, oh, I throw it out there and that's what happens. Ziggs' bomb. I'm throwing it and it bounces. Gonna hit a lot of crap, maybe.
Yep.
And that can be the same for, like, Orianna ball. I'm gonna throw my ball. It's gonna get there. It's gonna do some damage, sort of thing. So learn how to do some skill shots and you'll start to get the hang of all the skill shots.
Exactly.
I want to talk up Annie because she's my girl.
Do it.
She is so good. Oh my goodness. People don't realize how good she is. Like even now, like people don't understand. I don't see her in ranked games anymore, and it depresses me because she's so strong.
Yeah, she's kind of fallen off a little bit.
She's one of the few champions that has 100% on her magic. She has so much damage that they give her 100%. She can single-handedly kill 2 carries at the same time. Who else can do that? Who else can kill 2 carries at the same time? Ziggs, maybe, yeah. If you land your ult with the middle and you get a really good bomb on them, but and your minefield, I agree. But I have done it. I've killed 2 people with 2 shots. On
Annie brings so much damage, and she also brings so much utility with her stuns. She's a great champion to get good with.
Yeah, she can do the most amount of stuns. Well, okay, that's not true. She can do no, actually it is true because she can AoE stun everybody on top of she can if you have your stun ready after 4 spells, you'll be able to have the next one. So, you can do 2 stuns within a matter so technically you can stun 6 people within a matter of 3 seconds. Who else can do that?
That's a lot of stuns.
Cannon can't stun 6 people in 3 seconds. Cannon can stun 5 people, but he cannot re-stun somebody after the passive's already been procced. And if it... Well, yes, he can. It just is increased... It's, like, super short. I guess,
Although,
Cannon is
to
actually...
be fair,
Cannon...
To be fair, stunning 5 people at once is nothing to sneeze at.
Yeah, that's true. Leona can't stun 6 people. Leona can maybe stun... She can only technically stun, like, 3, because enough people can't fit in her ultimate. And her E is not a stun, it's a snare. You can still use abilities.
Yeah, so what we're trying to say is stuns are real good. And so is Annie.
Mm-hmm.
Who else do you like in mid lane?
Orianna. Zenith isn't a stun. Sorry.
For the people watching this on YouTube, Asdorishina is arguing with people in Twitch chat.
Yes, I am.
Hey, join us live.
Yeah, join us
Wednesdays. Live. And you can also argue with Asdorishina in Twitch chat.
Mm-hmm. We had to start early today because I have work in 30 minutes. But, no.
Yeah.
It's not a stun, it's a snare. Oh my goodness.
Stop it. DJ Seamars in the chat earlier mentioned AP Ezreal, which is not a bad choice to play mid. His skills can skill with AP, and he does a fair amount of damage. And he also has a great escape, so he's a real mobile champion who he works pretty well in mid. And I'm going to keep talking. Because,
yeah, I'm arguing. It's not... Okay, look, it's not a snare. The fact that Ezreal and Caitlyn can use their escapes after getting caught by Zenith particularly says that it's not a snare. I'm talking about E. Zenith Blade, not... Oh my god. This guy. Oh my god. Okay, whatever. I'm done. Who else is good in the mid lane? Who's easy in the mid lane that we can talk about? God, it's so difficult. A lot of A lot of champions are just not that easy. Okay, Fizz. I'll talk about Fizz. Fizz is actually really strong, and he's not that hard. A lot of people are like, oh, Fizz is strong, he's an assassin. Nope, he's easy. Super easy. Max your E.
Yeah.
Max your E, get Lichbane, get Zhonya's, get Deathcap, you win.
And he has a stupid amount of mobility. His Playful Trickster will get you out of so many sticky situations. If you know, and that's one of those things where it does a lot of damage, but if you're learning Fizz, save it to escape. Just like, you know, if you're learning Zig, save your Satchel Charge to escape. That's a good thing to do. Save those abilities for when you want to get out of a bad situation.
You know, I just got really annoyed because I'm looking at champions on the client, and it says that Gnar is available, but he's not available. It says locked.
It says who?
It says locked. Visit this door for more info. But it's not. I can't unlock him. It's unavailable.
What is going on?
Makes me angry. Anyway, yeah. Fizz is super strong. He's actually, for our ranked 5s, unless I'm playing Fizz in the mid lane, he's pick or ban for us. Like,
yep.
He's incredibly versatile in a ranked 5v5s because he has the ability to just kill whoever he wants, whenever he wants.
Yep.
Literally. Oh, I want you dead. I'm going to kill you. He may die in the process, but you're damn sure he's going to kill that AD carry.
Yeah, and if you get a Zhonya's, you can blow up that target, and then Zhonya's while the rest of your team comes in.
I'm not going to... I don't think Karthus is very strong, and I don't like Anivia for newer people.
I don't mind Karthus just because he can farm with his Q. I would agree with Anivia. Anivia is kind of hard to play for a new player.
Really
you gotta... Those Qs move so slow.
Yeah.
And they're pretty important lane. And you can screw your wall up pretty bad. You can block the target from your carries. You can block your carries in with the enemy. Like, that's an easy thing to mess up.
Lux. Lux is good.
Lux, yes. Lux is great.
Lux is a good one to learn.
We should probably cover a couple of assassins, too.
Oh, yeah.
I like Talon. Talon doesn't get played a lot, but his ult is probably one of the best escapes in the game.
Yeah.
You don't want to use your ult to escape if you can avoid it, but he basically goes stealth, and you can just run out of there.
Fizz is an assassin. He's considered
an assassin.
Katarina is an assassin. You can call her. Yep. You can use her. Casadaivo, he's an assassin. He's really difficult to play, but still really fun.
Yep.
I'm not going to say Zed, and I'm not going to say Kha'Zix, even though I just said them.
Why'd you lie?
I don't know.
Stop lying. Malzahar. I like Malzahar, too. He's a good choice. He's kind of Ziggs-ish. He's got a lot of AoE attacks, and his ult is a good way of just locking someone down.
Twisted Fate.
Twisted Fate I like, but he can be difficult. His pick a card, and again, we're talking here for newer players. Getting used to his pick a card can be a little difficult, even though they just buffed it. And I think the toughest part about his kit for a new player is his ult.
Yeah,
knowing when to use it and where.
That's why I want to say Twisted Fate, because Destiny is one of those ultimates that everybody's always afraid to use because they feel like they're going to waste it to the point where they never use it. So I'm going to talk about Twisted Fate for a minute because one of my best friends who plays this, and he may even actually end up watching this, his name's Ian. He's been learning how to play, and he picked up Twisted Fate as one of his first champions. Actually, probably his first champion, I think. He just started playing this game, mind you. He loves Twisted Fate. Just loves him. Absolutely loves him. He's going to actually play, he's going to cosplay as Underworld Twisted Fate, and I'm going to be Tibbers, so it's going to be dope. And I might also do Graves just for, kicks and grins, but maybe, we'll see. Even though I really don't like Graves, but that's okay.
I'll have no disparaging remarks about Graves.
Learning how to Destiny just takes time and practice. And the reason I want to say Twisted Fate is because Destiny will teach you how to roam. It will teach you how to roam. It'll teach you how to roam effectively, and it will help your roaming in general. You'll get so used to being able to roam with Twisted Fate's ultimate that you'll get to the point where you're like, oh man, I wish I roamed more as every single champion. Because that's what happened with him. He just started roaming all the time. He would just be like, I feel like I don't want to be in my lane anymore. Popping Destiny, going to the bot lane. Popping Destiny, going to the bot lane. To the point where he would play other champions and just roam because he just liked being able to do it.
Yeah, that's a good point. And while I stick to my guns that I think he is a difficult pick and I would say avoid him, the thing I will say is if you're learning and you decide, like your friend did, I love this champ, he's awesome, I'm just going to get good with him. If you can persist and you do get good with that champion, it's almost like speeding up how good you can get. Like you pick a more difficult champion to learn, you're going to progress from a skill standpoint faster than if you just, I'm going to pick this easy champion, I'm just going to play this easy champion, and that's it. Again, you've got to get past that hump of, like, you're going to do worse playing a hard champion like Twisted Fate or like Oriana or one of those difficult champions.
Don't play Oriana.
No, don't.
This doesn't apply. This doesn't apply to
another
Oriana.
difficult. Yeah. I guess the point I'm just trying to make is taking those, more ambitious picks and just determining I'm going to get good with this champion can have some pretty big benefits. Like you said, he knows how to roam really well now. If he had just picked, if he had just stuck with an easy champion, if he'd just gone with Lux, for example, he wouldn't have that skill set. So that's something to think about. That said, if you're learning the game, stick with an easier champ.
Okay, so while we're wrapping this up, let's go ahead and talk about
the Donger, Heimerdinger. Yeah, I like Heimerdinger.
Let's. So there's a few things that we covered with this. We covered roaming. Both the people that were who I'm recommending for roaming are Twisted Fate and Ziggs as really good roamers. Fizz is also really good at roaming, but I'm reserving him to something else. Those two are really good to learn how to roam with. Learning how to use skill shots, I would say that Lux will help you with your skill shot game significantly.
Yep.
And I think
Ziggs
will help you with your skill shot game. So,
Ziggs actually is how I learned skill shots, because I just said I love this champion. I'm going to play this champion. I don't care if he's difficult.
Mm-hmm. So if you want to learn skill shots, use those guys. If you want to learn how to take towers, Fizz with the Lichbane and Ziggs with the Lichbane are really good for taking towers. They can be those annoying menaces that just sit in a lane and take towers and be like, yeah, I'm going to take this tower. You're going to try and come gank me, but I'm going to get away because I have an escape, I have dodge, I have movement. You're not going to catch me.
Yep.
If you want to play combat eccentric champions, really get into the fight, learn how to just kill people outright, straight up murder people. Fizz and Katarina are both really good for that. You just want to get in there and just dumpster people, just do it.
Yep.
Go in there, dumpster them. And if you want to just learn, the basics of everything mid lane, learning how to take towers, learning how to slowly take towers, but get better at them. Learning how to roam, but more on the side of I'm just going to go in there and stun and we're going to hope for the best, or I'm going to go in there and slow and hope for the best, or learning how to secure objectives effectively. We're going to recommend Annie and Ziggs, because those guys are just straightforward, to the point, easy to learn, nice and comfortable, just solid champions all around. Would you agree?
I would agree with that.
No Yasuo.
Oh God, no.
Well, we specifically said at the beginning of Champs, learning champions, we said no Yasuo.
To be clear, I love Yasuo. I think he is super rad, but he is hard to play.
The problem, so for those of you who are watching and you're curious, the problem with Yasuo is that he promotes going in on fights that you can't win, but you think you can. He has a syndrome with him, where every Yasuo player thinks that they can 3v1. It's the same thing with Master Yi, which is why we're saying don't play with them, because they go in and then they die, and you get pissed off at your team because they didn't follow. You might get mad at yourself because you went in, but the reality of it is you land something and you feel like you need to go in, or you feel strong so you feel like you need to go in, and that is bad habit. So don't play those champions.
Also, he's like I said, he's tough to use. His ult is if you don't understand his mechanics real well and you don't have anyone else on your team with a knockup, you may never land his ult, and you just may die a whole bunch. And he's a really cool character, but he's tough. Yeah,
there are a few champions where they're to the point where you need to understand the game more, and the whole I'm just gonna practice with them till I get good thing just really won't work. Yasuo, Yi, Yi kind of. Yi just gets killed a lot.
I will say though,
Orianna.
early levels, Yi can just run over everybody because people don't know how to deal with him. Someone mentioned Morgana in the chat. I like Morgana mid. I think she's still pretty great.
Yeah, Morgana's a good pick. Morgana will teach you how to protect carries really effectively because everything in Morgana revolves around, chaining CC and protecting said individual. So she's a really solid champion if you're learning how to be more of a support mid type of deal.
Yep. And that's the thing too. We should mention real quick. You fully 100% can carry a game as a mid, but also don't get down on yourself if you're not. Like, I've had games where I've absolutely carried as Ziggs. I've also had games where I've only gotten like 3 or 4 kills, but I've got a ton of assists, and I brought a lot of utility to my team. Like, you don't have to carry the game as mid. You can just be putting down lots of damage, helping your team out, and just assisting a ton, and you're still going to have a successful game.
Yeah, agreed. Pretty much any of those champions that we recommended, go ahead and play those because they will teach you a lot. So next week we're talking about AD carry. This one's going to be a good one. I want to bring in Punchinello. He's a good friend of mine, good friend of the podcast. Duoed with the guy. You know Punch, right?
Yes. I know who he is. I haven't really played with him yet.
Yeah, so we're going to bring him in. He's going to talk about AD carry because he is one damn good AD carry. Gotta say.
Excellent.
Yeah. Do you have anything else?
No. Just, again, hope everything goes great with DeClaw. That's awesome that he's got a new addition to the family. And we're thinking about you, buddy.
Yeah. Yep, definitely. Maybe someday we'll be able to get you on for a mid lane talk.
We have to get him on just because I feel like our pun quotient has been really low. I think we've only had one in, 10 episodes? That's a little upsetting to me.
We don't have enough, they have 4 people, so it's just easier for one of them to be I'm gonna give my 2 cents every now and then. They're gonna be really mindful and awesome, and they're gonna be great to hear, and then I'm gonna give puns for the other 80% of the time. And that, we need a comedic relief, I feel like.
We definitely do. I'm trying, but I can only do so much.
All right, so we already talked about why we love mid lane. I love mid lane, man. I really do.
Me too. It's just the best. It's my favorite role.
Yeah. You got anything else before we cut this up? I can take a quick shower and go to work.
No, I think that's it, man. I think we did it.
All right, cool. All right, guys. Well, thank you for joining us again. We really appreciate it. This was episode 10 for the mid lane. Feel free to email us over at battlearena@trinityforcepodcast.com. Unfortunately, right now, I'm the only one that has access to that email. I need to fix that. Give Snaggle access. Give Badger access and all that good stuff. Also, feel free to go ahead and go to www.trinityforcepodcast.com. You'll have everything you want there. We are part of a larger group, the Trinity Force Podcast Network. They are amazing. T-Force Proper is going to be going live in 50 minutes, so stay tuned for that. Definitely come back and watch that. The guys will be talking, I hope, about the new patch, and I hope about Gnar.
Oh, I can't wait for Gnar. He's so great.
I can't wait for him either. But we'll see. They may opt to not talk about Gnar until next week, where they get,
They usually like to wait till they've had a chance to play him a bit.
Yeah, so go ahead.
But yeah, definitely hit T-Force. It's your one-stop shopping. They've got Oz LOL that covers the Oceanic scene. They've got the LCS Rundown that does a great job covering the LCS, even though if Tom keeps bashing CLG, I'm going to have to do something about it. Talking about Montegorum.
Yeah.
That guy makes me so mad.
At least they don't bash Cloud9.
Yeah. They can bash TSM all they want. That's fine.
Dude, happy anniversary, by the way. It's our 10th episode.
We did it.
Yeah, we made it to 10. What?
It's not actively on fire. I'd call that a success.
Definitely a success. All right, guys. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to add us in-game on client. I'm always on, literally always on. I may not always have time to, play a game or follow up with, a heavy question, but I'll always do my best to respond.
Yep. Or reach us on Twitter, or you can reach me. Asderition is never on Twitter
It's true.
because he sucks.
It's true.
But I am at Doc_chicken.
Yeah, I don't really tweet. It's the one media outlet that I don't partake in commonly.
One of these days, I'm gonna get you on there regular. You just wait.
It's tough. Maybe if like I have girls tweeting at me, I don't know. All right, so that's that.
So, any ladies, get the ladies tweeting Asderition.
Yeah.
That's the only way it's gonna work.
Definitely is the only way it's gonna work. All right, guys, thank you for joining us.
Bye.
Bye bye.